Go live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the rating show, post round 8 ratings after the Blues lose to the Pies. It is Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024. It's Greek Easter. Hey, Pom. Christos Anesti, mate.
Yeah, same to you. I got that. Ducking and diving with the best of them. I am, mate. What did you say? Say it again.
I said Christos Anesti, which is what we say during Easter, which means Christ has risen. Oh, my God. Nick Dacos rose. Oh, God.
Oh, fucking guy. Fucking Jesus, you're alluding to him as Christ. Jesus. Is it that bad? Are we at that stage already? That
yeah,
I've got to be the agony aunt of the Carlton massive.
I was all right on Friday, honestly. I think the more I think about the game and the more I think about the fact that we were the level in which we were outworked in a Collingwood Carlton game hasn't quite left me yet. Maybe I need one more sleep. I don't like it. I don't like that happened. I don't like that they outworked us by the level that they did. I don't think that is. If last week was unacceptable against the Cats, then what's this week? You know?
Now, mate, concerns. You all heard me. Do you know what I mean? I'm significantly lighter in the wallet after Friday's rant. So don't worry about it. I've paid my penance. I thought. You know what I'm like, though? Like, I get angry, and now I'm practicality Pom. We've got some fucking work to do. And
yeah, of course.
Good. Because you know what? I like work. I like work, eh? It keeps you honest.
Yeah. Well, that's what the rating show is about. So, welcome again to everyone who's tuning in. The rating show is brought to you by Horizon Finance Group. Thank you very much to Nick Horsburgh for getting on board and supporting the show. We'll hear from Nick when we find out who our player of the game is.
Big Nicky.
Yeah. So basically, any lending needs that you have, Nick is the conduit between you and the finance. He finds you the best rates. So if you want to get in touch, link to his website is in the live chat. It's pinned to the very top. Get in touch. Pommy, talk to me about what can we expect tonight from the ratings?
Well, I mean, hopefully, like, you know what? Fair play to the club because, you know, they've given the ratings a big test. So if you've been listening from day one to now, you should have a good indication of what a side that wins and how they win. And we're going to have some little points to prove when you see the full picture of probably our biggest strength, but also our biggest weakness. So you're going to see it. So it's very interesting, this. There is a thing that people are getting confused about. I heard Joe and his mob just before this talk about it. AFL rating points. People asking about that. So this is very different to AFL ratings. I'm not going to bag AFL ratings because if you make an algorithm, that requires a little bit of intelligence. But the key difference between our system and their system is over a period of time. So it's over a factor. So it's based on the players' last 40 games. So I'm getting a little bit annoyed with the AFL because they're now peddling this game-wise. So when you do something over the 40 games, basically if you're shit, right? If you're really shit and you have a good game, you rate really well. But if you're really consistent and then you have a slightly bad game, you rate really bad because you're a victim of your own consistency. On the counter, when you look at it over a season, Toby Green isn't as good as Adam Chera, right? So if you do it based on that this season, Toby Green is AFL average, right? And we know that's not true. Shea Bolton, because he's had a position change, is twice the player Patrick Cripps is. We know that's not true in reality, but based on his last 40 games with a positional change where he's getting more ball and getting more contested, it does look better. So this one here is different. It is just rated on what the position the player played, who is playing it, and then he's playing against himself and he's playing against other players who play that role. So they're always in with a chance of scoring well, because you're also benchmarking them against every other melt who plays there. So
same position.
Always take that in, because I saw the AFL ratings today being posted everywhere and everyone getting really excited and then panning players from it. And I'm like, you can pan them, but it would, to me, using the AFL ratings system is as stupid as coming to me and saying, Brodie Grundy scored 200 Supercoach points this week. He's 20 times better than Max Corn. Is he? Is he? So, yeah, very interesting.
Okay. Sandy Falcone, thank you very much for the $30 super sticker.
The Falcone dog in
How's
chat.
that? There's a nice way to start the evening.
Dog.
So all we're going to do is we're going to go through each player, show you their heat map, show you the key stats that made up the story of their game. We can be a little bit flexible with time tonight because we're not doing this before a show happens afterwards. If you have any friends that you think might enjoy this show, send them a link. Send it to them now. Put it in a group chat. Get them involved.
For a minute, I thought you was having a pot at me. Do you have any friends? It was like, fucking hell, Terry. Not Ari.
No, man, I've got one. I'm on one tonight, mate. So let us begin as the team started, as the team was named. We'll start with Jacob Wiedering. Oh, you know what? That's going to make me smile. That's going to make me smile. Jacob was one of the few that played the game in the spirit that it required, I thought.
Well, as you can see, so what I want to do tonight is, because we've got a bit more time, we're going to have a bit more fun. So we're going to try and learn something about what we've seen. So what I want to talk about here is this number at the end, spoils. Now, if you remember the pre-season talk, I think one of my comments, someone actually sent me it the other day, that we are the worst side I've ever seen below the knees since Christopher Reeve got out of bed, right? Which might have been one of the harshest put downs. But what I'm saying here is, if you're spoiling it, you're going to be really good at the ground ball. You've got to have a really good system for, if the ball's not marked, you're going to clear it up. And this week, we really saw Collingwood were never going to mark it, right? With Myercheck, he's not the tallest guy. Cameron and Cox are them guys that lead. And they're looking for uncontested leads, marks on the lead. This here is part of the problem, because when we spoiled it, there was a few times the ball hit the deck, and there's a few players on that Magpies list that like the ball on the ground. Usual things we're looking for from Wiedering, getting us going. 171, that's way below where we expect. Intercept marks, we expect this to be a strong bit. General marks, though, he was getting a lot of the ball being pipped around the back. And you can see here, Carlton had to make a change, and the Lewis Young inclusion was very interesting, I thought, because in the end, Wiedering ended up going to the two big guys when they rested forward, the intimate. And you can see he got really deep. And this is a big problem. That heat map might look good if you win, but when you lose, that's a problem, because that area there is where Messers, Jamie Elliott, Bobby Hill, you know, the sort that do damage. And you don't want Wheater in there. You want him deeper where the biggers are. But all in all, he was the only back lineman as well who didn't have a one-on-one. So that again shows Collingwood's plan. They did not want this guy one-on-one with their players, and they actively avoided the areas Wheaton was in.
Look at that. A team using its IQ when moving the ball forward, hey?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they thought Wiedering was Aaliyah and they thought they were Carlton and just dinked one on his head 55 times. That would have been nice.
Yeah. No, look, I thought he was, I haven't seen the scores for the other defenders, but I'd be surprised if another defender rated higher than him. It's going to be very much needed over the next few weeks as well. So we get to 7, Jacob Wiedering. A very solid score.
So some things went against him. Obviously, the ease in which they scored, that's one of the things that we look at, percentage that the opposition had. So he bears the brunt, but pretty good considering the back line was under Kosh.
Lewis Young is next. I'm surprised to see how far up the ground he got. So we're kicking to the right of screen for those of you watching at home. I don't think he was as bad as what it was made out to be.
Yes, I mean, you can see the Pomegon is trying to tell you a story here. So when Young is in the team, he is purely defensive. So he had an 80% one-on-one ratio win, which isn't too bad, to be honest. You can see here again the 7 spoils. Again, this is another thing. So 6 of them 8 marks were in switches. Right, that's a concern because it's sexing up their data. And the 7 spoils. The 7 spoils, again, see what I say. When the ball hits the deck, there's only one player in that back line who is ranked elite at ground ball receives. And it was his first game this week. So it's a very dangerous tactic when you're playing that. Young is what he is, though. So, you know, when people slag Young off, Young isn't Wiedering. And I feel like we repeat this every week, but this is who he is. So what you saw this week is a second key defender exposed by a very elusive forward craft.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summarize it perfectly when you say Young is who he is. Probably goes to show how much we miss and why we miss a player like McGovern, Adam Sard, because pretty good defensively, pretty good offensively. Young's just not an offensively minded player. When he's a defender, he's a strict defender. That's just what he is, and that's just what he does. I'm looking forward to having a chat about our midfield because I think that's where we were let down, and I hope that the same energy comes to the midfield that comes to this bloke. So, yeah.
I think his big problem is he's one of the lowest ranked players that we cover every week. In danger of disposal. So what that means is it helping you? Mm-hmm. And it's not. So that does go against him. I think the eye sees that, but probably criticizes some of the things he does good because they see that. Yeah. If that makes sense.
There's a bias. I mean, and defenders cop it more than any other player on the field because when they make mistakes, more times than not, it becomes a goal pretty quickly. So yeah. Having said all that,
a few goals kicked on our young lad.
A 5 for Louis Young. Need you to upload number 6, Pom, but we'll start talking about the game of Zach Williams.
The heat of
this was interesting. Yeah, he didn't start the game very well, to be fair. Wrestled it back somewhat for a little period of time and then mysteriously subbed off. Don't know what happened. Tight glute, tight hamstring. The Carlton app and Twitter said 2 different things. The AFL app and Twitter said 2 different things. Let's be honest, he probably lost his battle on the day.
Definitely. I think that's fair to say. It's an interesting one because, I mean, this is where we're going to come onto the midfield, but this is, again, don't want to be negative. So I'm going to try and be positive and I'm going to treat the club like they're my sons. So I'm going to speak with conviction. I personally think tactically and structurally, they got it totally wrong with Zach Williams. And I think you're asking Zach Williams to be half Lockie Plowman, half Adam Sard, and forgetting he's Zach Williams. His strengths are one thing. And I think that I watched this great article with Neil Warnock recently, soccer coach in the UK, 75, 6,000 games coached. And he said that the biggest problem he has with sport today, and he's talked about sport generally, is the arrogance of young coaches coming in with philosophy and thinking that they can dictate how teams play just because that's how they think the game should be played. Where he says you earn that right by coaching shit kickers in a system that suits shit kickers. And he described it, 16 years old, you work at McDonald's, 18, you get an office job, 25, you become assistant manager, 35, you become manager, 50, you become director, and then you have an option, remortgage your house, go on your own, or retire as a CEO. And he was like, nowadays, we're just making everyone CEOs. And I feel like at times, we're trying to fit Zach Williams in the system. We need a defensive player. We need offense as well. And I feel like Williams is struggling with that. And you can see here his numbers. It's a nothing game. We've got average for AFL defensive stats and then meh for the attacking stats. You need to see some blues. When we do this with Sard, it's blue.
Yes.
And it's because his role. It's not his role.
I thought having Cincotta in the side would have allowed him to play with a bit more freedom. Looking back and thinking about it now, I haven't watched the replay in full since Friday yet. I mean, what was the alternative, though? Was it Newman play the role? Because I thought Newman played his role pretty well. On Elliott,
I think the biggest telling thing I can say...
That's where you need a
I think the biggest telling thing I can say is that 0 to round 4, Carlton, one of the best transition sides in the league. Now they're back to being one of the worst. And something mirrors with that stat. It's their endeavour. Their attempts off the back. And either Zach Williams is structurally being told, don't take the game on, or he doesn't want to take the game on. But I would say Boyd, who we know is mental in his mind, that he takes the hard kick on, even he's depreciated dramatically in the last 3 rounds. So I would allude, if they're all doing it, that's been told. That's been told to them. That's not them instinctively doing it. So, interesting one. Tough game for Zach, but I'm going to tell you now, be prepared to be disappointed if Zach Williams' gig for the rest of his life is being very defensive. It ain't going to work, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't see a 6 in the back end here. I don't know if you've uploaded it yet. So we can get his score. Yeah, it's just, do you want to click it? It hasn't come up on my end.
The heat of the moment.
There it is. So a 5 for Zachy Williams.
Already going well, chat.
Here's another one that made me smile. I really think there might have been half a dozen guys that played this game in the spirit that I wanted them to play it in. Alex Cincotta, welcome back to the team. It was really...
There we are. We had to kiss the Guernsey.
I was really pleased with how he went about it.
This was impressive from Cincotta. So Cincotta there, you can see the weird little Carlton facet. 90% of our gameplay goes down the right. And because Carlton go crazy and they pack that side, teams naturally attack us on their right-hand side, which is our left flank. And Cincotta was in the firing line. Now, Cincotta's matchup for 92% of his minutes, Bobby Hill.
Wow.
Now, I heard a few people criticize him because he lost Bobby Hill once. So he actually loses him 3 times in the game. 1, nothing happens. 2nd time, he does score. 3rd, we break even. He recovers. But you look at the times he lost him, this is what turns me on about Pom Cotter. I know he's my boy, but he took high-risk plays. So the one that he lost him where he gets the handball off and it becomes a goal, he goes to put the body on, right? And Bobby Hill's smart. It's happened to him for 3 quarters. He stops his run. Cincotta goes that way. He carries on. Not much you can do about it. But what's great about him is the times he was beaten by someone supreme. Bobby Hill is a genius. So you can get it. 19% disposal efficiency. A lot of people say Cincotta can't kick, can't handball. That's a lie. Ground balls received. Carlton's game plan at the moment is bring it to ground. He won all of them. And again, he's not the tallest guy. This is an elite rating for someone playing back pocket. He got exposed twice by Brody Majacek, won them. So he can fight on the toes. We're looking for a new ploughman. I think this backline needs a new ploughman. Someone that can play on smalls, but also not be scared of the mid-sized toe. Pom Cotter's your man, mate. And I'd love to see this guy, if there is any truth to Zach Williams may be out, this guy can use the football as well. So very quick. And I'll tell you what, Bobby Hill, one of the fastest players from a standing start in the AFL at the moment. So if you can take him out, everyone else is chicken feed. Well done, Pom Cotter.
Well, reality with Cincotta is he was the silver lining of last year. Awful injury to Zach Williams. Had that not happened, I don't think we see Alex Cincotta the way we saw him. Played a lot of games, played in big games, and now we reap the benefits of that. So I don't think there's any issue with his confidence, whether he believes he can make it at the level or stay in the team at the level. And I think now more than ever, while we're in this tough patch with who's available, guys who have the mentality are going to be more valuable than ever. So this guy made me smile. This was a good one. I was very happy with him. 6.5.
Remember as well, playing.
He's got a shaved head too. You see? See what happens?
Hey, mate, he's got a bit of chutzpah about him, as old Pomcar.
He certainly does, mate. Yeah, he does. No, very good.
Great interview as well. After this, go and watch the interview. Any man that during COVID needs to do his rehab and he rents out a gym to live in shows you why he plays like he plays.
Yeah, let's move on. Jordan Boyd. How do we see Jordan Boyd in this game? Lots of meters gained, a lot more up the ground.
Well, Voss had to try something, and it was interesting that in the quarter that we started to kick ass, we gave him the offensive role, and the meters gained comes out of it. And the problem is, Carlton's backline at the moment, I think, needs 4 players attacking, 2 defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? 2 defensive, and it was proven here. Look, rebound 50 is very solid. They were all to hands, 404 meters gained. And this is the problem. Because he's offensive, you need another person to back him up, and Chincotta's only one man. So this was a big issue for him, that he probably isn't the greatest defensively. And I think Jordan Boyd would admit that. He needs the ball going forward, and we need the ball in his hand a little bit more for me. Like, I want to see the ball in his hand a lot more. A lot more, because he gets the game moving forward.
He thinks quickly. He moves quickly. Yeah, we're not. He's definitely not a player where we're stagnant when he has the ball in his hand. Just doesn't get it enough.
My favourite thing about Boyd is he takes them 2 marks. You can see them on the right wing, incidentally, where Carlton go near the inside 50 where we're attacking. And both times he's screaming at the players to lead for him. Both times he screams at them. He's like, come to me. And I thought he kind of showed you what's wrong with our inside 50s. He's waiting for some movement, and the forwards are just stood there like, it's all right, you'll kick it on our heads. So it's probably the big difference there. If we could lead for this guy, some bad things could happen for the opposition.
Yeah. A 6 for Boydie. As we move on to Nick Newman. Jeez. I haven't seen more meters gained in a game this year so far. That's a season high, right? Surely.
Is for the club piss taker, isn't it? Yeah, let's be honest. Peter Ian Staker. He is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Hardly anyone talks about him post game as well. And
yeah, man, I know.
He's becoming a victim of his own monotony, I think. Like, I mean this with love as well. It's literally, it's kind of boring to watch, to be fair. You know he's going to do this. And again, look, leading the way in our offensive stats down the back, and also leading our way in our defensive stats down the back as well. Incredible footballer is Nick Newman. And this is probably the one that worries me the most, because when people say, oh, Adam Sard's not getting any younger, you can find flashy halfbacks. They're 10 a penny in the draft. What you can't find is a guy that can do the flashy shit, but also do the dirty stuff. And Nick Newman, again, deployed on that dangerous wing, and then look at where he is offensively on the right, where we attack. But then look who's doing the hard work, stopping these bastards coming back at us. It's Nick Newman. Like, honestly, Nick Newman is the kind of guy that just has a sentence in a history book and won a VC. No one remembers him. Do you know what I mean? He's just a little sentence, but, you know, probably saved his regiment.
You know what he's like? He's like a Tim Duncan. He might win 4 premierships, and you'll never hear from him again. He'll never do an interview again. Doesn't want a bar of it. Very Nikola Jokic type vibes. Real humble.
Facts. Jokic, great simile. Mate, honestly, if I was picking this team, probably the second backman I select. Like, I love doing his stats, because I just know even if the game's shit, he's going to give me something.
Well, what's important about Nick, I think, is when we lose troops like we have at the moment, Sard, McGovern, Kem to an extent, Marchie, he can step up, fill the void, get plenty of possessions, be a ball carrier, be a stopper, be a lot of things. When the full complement of the squad is there, he also is able to step back into his role with no fuss and just do it. So those are important guys to have in your squad.
Look at what Zach Williams is doing. He's used to being the star. He's probably got more of a janitor's job at the moment.
Yep.
Nick Newman doesn't care. Like
he's done the janitor's job. He's
there's no ego. You can see a player told me a couple of weeks ago that defense comes from in here. It's who you are. Like it's preservation. And you can see Nick Newman, it's there. It's there. I mean, you can see he's proud of defending his line. That's all he cares about. He doesn't give a shit about anything else. And great game from him. I love him. If we had 22 of these, I probably wouldn't have lost all that money.
It's an 8.5 to Nick Newman. Now we start getting into the midfield. Oh, no, this guy gets a massive pass. He was also brilliant. Blake Acres. Very instrumental for us.
This guy just runs for days, doesn't he? Defends.
Takes the piss.
The spoils, like probably about 5 of his spoils this week as well, saved clear goals. When they went through that little short exit, his hand gets there. 7 marks, always running to be an outlet ball, often ignored as well. Often ignored. Like we talk about Elijah and Cottrell get ignored in the forward line. This guy leads into that wing all the time. Short kick, get you going, and they miss him. 25 pressure acts again, getting close to his man, making it hard. And then look, 14 inside 50s, he was the driving force of getting us going as well. So he's not only defending, but he's trying to get us going from being flat-footed. Incredibly hard worker as well, very understated. And this probably lies the problem, I think, at times as well, that it's Blake Acres doing this in this game where you're looking to other people. But great game from Blake. He couldn't do any more. He walks off the ground and he's like, I've done my job, and probably someone else's.
Probably someone else. No doubt, mate. Absolutely. Someone else's.
Look at his heat map. Like he walks out and he's probably like, I also did fucking 50% of your job too.
Yeah.
Like it's tough.
He was excellent. 7.5 for Blake. As we move to Cripps. A little bit less from Cripps than what we've seen over the last few games. He's been great for a while, and this just wasn't one of his best games.
You know the one that kills me, right? Is it fucking winds me up. When Carlton lose, everyone looks for a fall guy, and I'm telling you now, whether it's golf's a solo sport. That's my sport. It's not all on the fucking golfer, though. Tell you, there's a team behind him who are working and let him down as well, and he lets them down. Same with this. Player lets themselves down, but there is 22 other people to do it. And there's this article at the moment that's just gone on Twitter. You've all seen it. They're picking on him at centre clearance and Scott Pendlebury battering him, right? And everyone's making out like it's genius from Collingwood that they're stopping Cripps getting to the contest. Well, if you were 6 years old, I'd imagine you'd be able to work that out. What is annoying about it is Cripps wasn't helped out, I don't think, this week by his coach and his players. You've got to change it up, and Collingwood were willing to change Dacos on Hewitt after the second quarter, and it killed us, and it ultimately cost us the game because Dacos popped up. Cripps, they needed to find a way of getting Cripps away from Pendlebury, and other coaches move them forward. Other coaches move them back. They get them away and say, right, have a quarter off, get into the game. And Cripps, above average for most of his stats. The problem was, it's not going to be a blue number. And he's one of the players that our system relies on being blue for us to win. And when it's not blue, 2 other players have to be blue. And they weren't this week. So it's a tough one for Cripps. But, I mean, like, Pendlebury is a gift. He understands the game, and that's something that Cripps probably doesn't have. He doesn't have them 150 plus games of intelligence and experience. He's still learning his craft as a leader, but he was willing. I'm not going to pan him because he's won his game.
It's not about panning him. It's just he wasn't at his best, and that was what it was. I mean, he had attention last week on him. He had attention on him the week before as well. He just found a way to get through. He's the least of our worries at the moment.
You see, like Matt Gondolfo, he talks about Kennedy being there. Like for me, I was watching this game, and at halftime, you could see they made that move. They worked it out. Pitternet wins hit out. It comes backside of the contest. Cripps and Hewitt get there first. And you can see McRae had gone, right, we're going to stop this. We're going to stop this, right? Maynard on Hewitt start the quarter. Cripps, Pendlebury, just delay them getting there. And I was watching the game going, you've got Kennedy on the bench. Sub a small forward out. Bring Kennedy on, who does bash heads. He did it well 2 weeks ago. And help him out. Say, look, let's change it up. Have a different point of attack. And this is where you've got to look at the coaches to help him, because no other club relies on one player to do it. Bontempelli gets pegged off and Beveridge hasn't got a Scooby. So this is where you've got to get a little bit more intuitive, I think, at times. Cripps doesn't have to be in the centre all the time. Yeah,
that's true. So we got a 6 for his efforts. I'll get you to upload 17. This might be a nice time to take a quick little break and hear from Nick. So while you upload 17, let's hear from Nick.
I'm Nick Horsburgh. I'm the director of Horizon Finance Group. I've been in the automotive industry about 20 years now and brokering for the last 7 years. I started Horizon Finance Group about 3 years ago. I've got a passion for really helping people. So if they've got a bad credit rating and have been previously knocked back, what I really enjoy about the role is being able to give them guidance, put them in a position where they've got better financial practices and get them their target of getting a loan for them. That's really rewarding for me.
There you go.
Mahogany.
Love that. Mahogany.
His office smells of mahogany Cuban cigars and a fine brandy.
Speaking of mahogany, Matty Cottrell.
All right, and here we are. You know what? Every week I've had to hear Ollie's shit. Ollie's shit. Drop him to VFL, Ollie's shit.
Yeah.
And you saw 2 players had to play this wing role this week, and both of them averaged actually less touches than Ollie Hollands did in that time.
What Ollie does.
So do you know what I mean? Like, this is a thankless job. And again, look, 16.2 kilometers ran by Mr. Cottrell, less pressure acts as well than Mr. Oliver. This role here, honestly, is the graveyard of football. I'm going to call it now. Carlton's right flank is depression central for a winger. Like, if you are a winger out there and Nick Austin calls you up, don't answer the phone, right? If you want glamour, don't.
It can only mean one thing. Misery.
Do you know what I mean? 200 meters gain. It's a real tough role, but you know what I loved about Cottrell is when he rests forward, he has something that Ollie doesn't have, and that's he's played that half forward role, and you can see he got the ability. He's got the ability. He took his opportunity, took his goal, which I'll admit Ollie wouldn't do that. But this again, I don't want to criticize Voss because it's the first time he's pissed me off this year, but I would love him to explain to me how we had this guy playing some really good football, half forward. Then you put him here on this wing. Were you expecting him just to get 30 touches when the ball never fucking goes down there? Like 16.2 kilometers. He was just, me and Terry said it on the phone. Terry actually made the best joke. It's just a glorified HIT program. He was the instructor of the HIT program.
It was just 7 sprint efforts. Yeah. Oh, no. Cottrell's the wrong example. When we get to Raz did a hit session.
But what I mean is he's the PT of it. Like, this guy was leading it. He's run 16.2 kilometers for no fucking reason whatsoever. Bless him.
Yeah. He was practicing how to umpire almost, just getting around contest to contest. No, he was a workman, as always. 5.5 for Matty Cottrell. We do love him. He's got that dog in him too. He's got that ice in his veins.
We love him.
Orazio. He's just not able to find his way in, is he? Just hasn't been able to find a way to impact for what we need. I'm a bit confused. Yeah. I've been kind of thinking for a while. I'm like, he's about to do it. It's about to happen. He shows the flashes.
This one's tough because because the algorithm really searches. So what it does is it refines everyone's role. So when we talked about the player ratings earlier, it's really basic. It's just back, middle, forward, and ruckman.
Yeah.
And it doesn't define if that backman is an interceptor. They just class them as keys. It doesn't distract them if they're a ball-playing halfback or if they're a defensive halfback, winger, midfielder. So, and then forwards, they come in three categories. You generally have like your all-rounder, right, which we class as like a forward mid, someone that tries to get into a conduit zone type thing. Or he's a third tall target, or he's a crumbing goal kicker, or he's a defensive forward like Fogarty. So I've tried to put all the stats there that the algorithm tries to say, right, okay, this guy's playing this role. Like the algorithm, the last 3 weeks he's played just basically goes, Pom, help me, teach me. And sometimes I don't know what to say to her. I'm just like, fucking, I don't know. You tell me, darling. You're the computer. But 0 goals, 1 tackle inside 50, 10 pressure acts, 1 score involvement. And I think Jackson nails it. I kind of watch it and I think he's played enough games. He's been in the system. He knows how to play football.
Yeah.
Is he just kind of there? Like I'd love Orazio to say, Pom, this is the last words Fossey says to me. So I could get an indication. Because at the moment, it's kind of like he sits back off the contest.
Yep.
I mean, he sits back, so it's not like he's trying to get in there. Sometimes he runs on, then sometimes he sits back. Sometimes he's in the defensive position. So, like, either he's forgotten how to play football, or I mean this with all the respect. I think someone else needs to play.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly got no connection with the forwards. He hasn't played with them before, but for the 6 or 7 games, whatever that he's played, he's trying to find his consistency in his body. I think we've seen positive signs in that regard. He's backing up. He's playing football. He's played more games than what I thought he would, if I'm being honest, when we first got him. I think the reality is if Jack Martin's available next week, Jack Martin will play. So there's also an element to it of, do you want to be giving Moya exposure now? Or do you want to save Moya a little bit more, let him develop? I guess they're playing him. They believe in him. I believe in him too. I just think the reality is we just haven't seen enough. And it's just getting, game after game, it starts building. And, maybe it's just as simple as when Martin's back, he's not in. I don't know what happens.
It's going to be interesting because you can see the touches down the back. Voss really likes to play him as like the extra around stoppages.
Yeah.
And I understand why. They're looking for like a little bit of something different. And I was watching this week and I was just thinking to myself, this is Motlop's role in the VFL. And that kind of got me excited because I think if Motlop's there, that's something that he really gets excited about. Motlop, when he played in them few games last year, VFL on stoppage, he looked really sexy. So that might help him get in the game. But it's just not happening, is it? Like, let's be honest. Allow me to be frank. It's shit.
Yeah. It's
like I love it, but it's gash. Underline that.
So we get to 4. Let's just move on. Elijah. Is that what picture do you see? What do you see?
Elijah?
No. On the heat map, what image comes to mind?
A dog.
Yeah, I was going to say a goat.
Okay. I was scared. I was like, fucking hell.
No. I love it.
Fucking rock shot.
Yeah, go.
Oh, sorry. This was an interesting game because Elijah got a lot of stick this week, and he kind of lost his role this week to Connors. So Connors kind of got the more cruisy job.
Yeah.
And we saw this guy play a little bit different. I really enjoyed what I saw from him, though. Hard tackles, decent meters gained. It was a lot more of an offensive role, and it didn't quite get going. That KM's ran, for some reason, I couldn't delete it in time. It's score involvements, not KM's ran, because he wouldn't get agreed for that. But he got involved. He got involved, and it felt like this was a new role for him. This was probably, I think, in my opinion, probably a couple of weeks too soon as he gets to the pace of the game. He did look kind of lost when he was more in the midfield, but I liked his endeavour. He worked hard. And I think I do like him in the midfield. That is his preferred position, his agent's preferred position, and the reason that he claims he signed for the Blues, that we're not going to play him at half forward all the time. We're going to play him in the midfield.
I liked his first half in particular. I thought he faded a bit in the second half, but he's one of a few that's ready, willing, and able to make a play through the corridor.
Spot on. He's a good player, and it's going to be interesting what they do with him. It's going to be interesting because I see Zach wants him on the wing. Like, if they play him on that right wing, he probably won't sign the contract. Like, let's be honest, he won't sign the contract extension.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you now, I think the role for him is we need to find a way of getting him in the midfield and at half forward, which I think, like what Terry rightly said, Fantasia comes out, Martin comes in. Martin doesn't have the engine to play half forward. They'll slot him into the pocket and then he'll come half forward and then he'll go into the middle. I don't mind him resting on the wing, but he really needs to be in the guts. Yeah, and I liked what he did in the guts. I'd be telling him, I know this is a big call, watch Nick Dacos, because people forget, in the draft year, he was basically Nick Dacos before Nick Dacos came. He was slight. He took the game on. He had some arrogance, some cock and swagger. I'd say watch how he operates, how he lurks. He waits for the hard shit done, and then he's there. And I think if he can do that and master that craft, boy, oh boy, he could be everyone says we're slow out of the midfield. This could be what we're looking for, the missing ingredient.
Okay. Well, he scored a 5.5 for his game. As we move over to Matt Owies, who was put under the spotlight last week. I reckon last week might have been the worst game he's played. And I thought he needed to respond, and he did. He did his job. End of the day, kicked his 3, and certainly did his job.
Well, you have got something incredibly exciting towards the end, and we do see the average players' ratings, a new segment. But again, 3 goals. So I do want to say this. If we didn't have the goals, and we should never do if onlys, but if we didn't have the goals, what I really enjoyed about this week versus the last 3 weeks we've seen, is there was a clear, defined role.
Yeah.
Clear, defined role. So if he didn't have them 3 goals, I could see what his gig was, which was quite exciting. He gave it off pretty well as well. There was 2 classy handballs to runners that became goals. Decent pressure numbers. And again, look, this is really important. The forward 50 ground ball gets. Carlton, if they don't mark it, this guy gets there and gets involved. So I really like Matty Owies' game. And you know what? I mean this with love. This is probably one thing that worries me about this football club at its stage at the moment, that we haven't quite got a small forward better than him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they haven't overtaken him yet.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? This guy is the most dangerous small forward. And Fantasia, Jesse Motlop, we don't know. We haven't seen him yet. He's injured. Corey Durden, they need to be looking at this guy and going, we've played football since day one. We haven't had a trip to America to play basketball. This guy's learned quicker than us. Yeah. This is the standard. We should really be in the situation now. In my opinion, Owies is the reserve. But this just proves execution is better than talent.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think when Motlop's not available, it's very easy to get caught into the trap of thinking everything's going to be okay when Motlop returns. And for the most part, it will be. But he's also still young and going through those inconsistencies that he's got to iron out. Always definitely, apart from last week, he has a way of finding consistency in his play. That's the reason why he's still on the list. Let's be honest.
And who are the 3 people we've got excited about? 4. Well, yeah, the 3 people we got excited. 4 people we got excited about this week. Elijah Hollins, this guy, Chincotta and Newman, and they've all had unusual routes to the AFL. Elijah Hollands, I would say, number 1 draft pick a year before, has a serious injury. Rumours that people don't want him. He slides down. He manages to sneak in 7th. Gold Coast for 2 years say that he's not what they signed. They've played him out of position. He's had to rot.
Yeah.
And Owies, the same thing. He's not there because he's a superstar. He's there because he's fucking taken it. So he plays like he's taken it. He plays like he's stolen a job and he ain't giving it back. And I love that because now Motlop has got to take this guy out.
Yep. So 6.5 for Matt Owies. He's back in the green. Good to see. Harry Mackay. One of the few guys I thought on the night who has infinite talent, but the talent didn't get the job done this week. The way he wanted to work in this game got the job done for Harry this week. I was really happy with his output.
Yeah, I find Lloyd getting on the case of Harry and at the start of the year and now Charlie. And for me, when I watch Lloydie, I understand that he has not got a clue and forgotten that sometimes players are doing what they're told to do. And Harry, 14.4 kilometers ran. What a waste. What a waste of having to run up and come and take marks at the halfway. What a waste. Like, it's all right, people saying, oh, this is good, though. Is he good? Like, I don't want Harry kicking inside 50. I want someone kicking it inside 50. And you saw the error of why that is, I think, such a silly system when he kicked it inside 50 and he made the mistake. And I'm not going to hang Harry because for me, no other football club in the league does that. You know what I mean? No one does. No one in the league does that. Their key forwards are stay at home, or they're built like Charlie, like Jeremy Cameron. They're elusive and they've got history of playing midfield and they've got scope and they're a little bit crafty. You want Harry 50 out, taking the piss, having shots at goal. And again, look, 3 marks inside 50, the best in our team. 4 goals, the best in our team. 2 tackles in 50, there's a problem. You know what I mean? Our key forward.
I mean, it's great for Harry, and I'm really happy and proud for Harry, but that's a fucking issue if he's leading tackles inside 50.
All that does is just tell me that people that have very little understanding of this game, which is very simple, I can tell you, that then peg Harry and Charlie because he don't do it. But no other key forward in the league does this. No other key forward does this because the small forwards protect them defensively. Ours don't, so Harry's got to do it. What more can he do? Like, this is what breaks my heart. What more can he do? Like, Harry will have come off this ground and gone, any other day, I've won the game, man. And I was a little bit disappointed at the end of the game. Like, I calmed down after I had my rant and shouted at Terry. I depressed Terry, and then I'd go home. I wake up in the morning and seeing people going, oh, Harry missed this kick. Harry missed this kick. Harry missed this kick. Fuck me. He kicked 4 goals, man. Like, he needs to walk off the ground to a fanfare.
Yeah.
Like, what could he do?
Yeah. Need you to upload 26. I don't see it here. Yeah. The start to his game was phenomenal. Set the tone. I was really confident with the way that Harry started that we were in for a good night because obviously the Pies set up for Charlie first and foremost. Not that they don't set up for Harry, but Charlie's obviously a core threat. And I thought by Harry starting the way he did, it would open up Charlie. It didn't eventuate, but it doesn't matter. Harry was great.
Mate, great game.
8.5.
Great game from him.
Yeah. Next up is Tom de Koning. Jeez, have a look at that. What's going on there? It's a big schlong in the middle, mate. Look at that.
This is a really interesting one. This for me with TDK because we're seeing really good up and down the ground, and he's been the legs, but he feels like at the moment he's the legs of Pitternet around the ground, and I'm still trying to get my head around it. Like, obviously Pitternet's doing well for what he's doing, and he's trying to find his best way around it. 2 goals, again, joint equal marks inside 50. This is the other thing, though, where we've got to look at the red numbers. He is a ruckman. Do you know what I mean? You've got to remember he is a ruckman as well, which I feel like, yes, we're getting some output from him in the forward line. I miss the old TDK, though, in the ruck. I feel like this is probably his strength.
I get it. I get it. It's such a difficult one, isn't it?
Well, I was watching some footage when he was there, and it was like the difference between him and Pitternet. Pitternet likes that soccer clearance and get the game moving forward, where TDK was taking it and then handballing it. And we won no centre clearances in the fourth with TDK, which I thought was a real bizarre method to keep TDK rucking in the fourth. Felt that was a little bit of arrogance from the football club. But then I was looking at his game round 3, and it was amazing when they tried to stop Cripps. He was taking the ball, which was stopping that move, because suddenly it was like an extra mid. So I really like TDK there. I think we can utilise him a little bit more in the ruck. But yeah, I loved his forward craft. The forward craft there, it was a good tactical move, that, because that's probably Collingwood's weakness. Just didn't get deep enough for him. It's amazing, though, when their entries were deep, TDK was eating them up. He was eating them up.
It's amazing how he lifted, Tom. And he's shown flashes of it, lifting when we need him to. He's got it in him, and it keeps developing. I find it really interesting when he's not showing up to game day as the sole ruckman, and he's obviously got a role where he's going to play a bit forward, he's going to play a bit around the ground. It does affect his ruck craft when he goes in there, because he's not just focusing on being a ruckman. And I noticed a few possessions where he misread the ball, or got moved out of the way a little bit easier than what he was early in the season when he didn't have a second ruck option there. And I'd be very curious to chat and ask him how he approaches games when he knows, or both of them, I guess, what the difference is when you know there's another ruckman in there, and how it affects your mentality in the contest.
Be interesting. I mean, I think it's a little bit like being a fast bowler. I think it's rhythm. I think you saw it last year with Max Gawn and Grundy. When they were going 50-50, it affected both of their outputs. Yeah. Where now they're both back to being solo rucks. You can see both of them are having career great years. So it's an interesting one. I mean, I understand why we have 2 rucks, and you know what? I'm not going to criticise it because it hasn't worked this week. But I still feel like that's probably an area when everyone returns probably becomes more of a problem, because probably is more the obvious one to stop doing. Yeah, which I think is obvious.
So a 7 for Tom de Koning. As we get into Charlie, what do you make of Charlie's game?
There's an interesting one from Charlie. You can see, again, the one thing I agreed with Lloyd's synopsis is I think sometimes how we rotate Pitternet and TDK is probably what we need to do with these. I do want to see Charlie leading out there. I think it's the logical thing to do. I think it drags them out. And you saw a couple of them marks he took, particularly the one that was the goal assist. It drags even the greats out of the back line. Darcy Moore couldn't help but follow him, and it created massive outnumbers down the back. Took his goals well, converted very well, marks inside 50. It's an interesting one because it's this chatter about his defending that is actually starting to wind me up. Like, honestly, it's do you know what, Terry? I don't like stupid comments. I just don't. Like, when I was brought up, you were only allowed to talk if it was with intelligence in our house. It was an old house. So you had to back up what you said. You couldn't just say something ridiculous. My granddad would always say, explain your thinking. And if your thinking was stupid, you lost your speaking license.
Put it this way.
But
put it this way. What do you make of his body language in general?
I think when people talk about body language, he's disappointed. You can see it. You can see he's disappointed.
It's a frustration. He's definitely feeling it.
I'll caveat it 2 ways. Them entries don't help any forward. So people compare him to Jeremy Cameron. Go back and watch Jeremy Cameron play us. That ball movement, Charlie Curnow would have his willy out with that ball movement. The fact that they drop it 65 out and then get him to lead.
But that's if he leads. Charlie doesn't lead as much as
but
Jeremy Cameron does.
our ball entries inside 50 have been the same for 3 years since Michael Voss. So
I
he
think,
knows. So he
yeah,
knows that lead
okay.
won't change.
I believe he can work harder for the ball. I believe his teammates can work harder for him. I believe whether it's a combination of Charlie and the coaching group, everyone involved, we made it easy to defend him. It's happened for a couple of weeks now. Geelong put the spare in front of Charlie every time. Like I said earlier with Harry, we get Harry involved in the game. I thought that was an opportunity to test Collingwood's defense. Charlie started getting involved in the game, but I think he wasn't alone, Charlie, in his body language example that I'm using. But that's not to the standard. The way his body language, that's not the standard. That's not Charlie's magic. And if we're just every time it doesn't work for him, we say, oh well, the supply wasn't good enough, and well then what are we doing? He's gonna be okay. He's gonna work through it. He's gonna get better. But
I agree. But it is when people talk about like pressure and effort. There's no key forward in the league that ranks higher than he does at them indicators. Do you know what I mean? There's just Harry. There's just Harry. No, but there's just Harry. But then they're in the same team. So you've got to remember the other players we're talking about. There is a player that is defined to do the pressure role and the player who does the goal kicking role. No team has ever played. Look at Tom Hawkins and Cameron. They do two different things in the same system. I feel like sometimes
he's a freak like Haaland. We talked about this on the phone the other day. Like he's Haaland.
100%.
He is a freak. He's magic. But where I saw the difference between his game and Harry's game, both ultra talented. Harry worked a lot harder. Different role, understand. Charlie doesn't get up the ground as much as what Harry does. Understand that. I just think he can work harder. I've seen him work harder. I've seen it. I've seen him do it.
Mate, no doubt he can work harder, but I think that it's definitely stupid if we're blaming Charlie.
Why?
If we're blaming Charlie for us not winning.
No, I'm not blaming him for not winning, but I think when we're talking about the game of inches, when I talk about individuals, I'll start with leaders, not Young, not Dow. I'll start with leaders, and Walsh will get it in a minute as well because it was an accumulation game for Walsh. I just think Charlie can be better. He's better, and I think Charlie knows that more than me and anyone that's going to say it. But we just need him to be more engaged. He definitely
can be better, but I just find it bizarre that we look at the obvious answers. I mean, we look for obvious answers where I watched that game back this week and the game the week before and the game the week before. And Charlie's operating in a system that literally is asking him to stay deep. And if he does lead short, the kick ends up where he was. So I would be looking that. I agree with you. Harry gets up the ground, but Harry's not getting up the ground because he wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to run down the left wing. Harry goes down the left wing because he's been told to. That's a structural change. And if you go to practice training, you see them practice that outlet ball and it's Harry doing it. My question is, if you want to see Charlie do that, one of them's got to stay at home. I'd love to see Charlie and Harry stick because I think, like John says, I think sometimes he gets caught up in the battle too much. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a pride factor from Charlie, and he's almost like manhandling the defender. It's like a little game of tug. But I'd like to see Carlton go, right, Harry, you're the master of doing that. Charlie, work up the ground. So Charlie could do that. But my question at the moment, to me, it's obvious he's being told to do the role. It's obvious. The bombing in the forward line, I don't care who you are, that helps Harry. It doesn't help Charlie. It doesn't help Charlie. That's not Charlie's game. That isn't Charlie's game. That's not what he's strong at. Charlie's strength is leading to the ball. So I'd love the forward coach Russell to look at how Coleman medalist Jeremy Cameron is used, right? And that is get him to lead outside 50. Get him to lead the same way he is. See them blue dots and that red? I'd like that red in the middle that kind of looks like a placenta to be 10 meters. So it's encompassing outside 50. then I think you'd see a difference. But that would then have to change the ball movement. You can't go down the right. It can't be slow because part of it, and I'm not defending him. I'm just trying to say how ball movement works in football. When it goes slow down the right, watch the entries. The defense is set up. There's nowhere to lead. They block off 55 out. So he runs into two people. They put two people on him. When it's quick, though, you do see Charlie lead to the pocket and kick them goals. Lead to 55 out on an angle and kick them goals because the ball movement's quicker. It's quicker. But what people are asking him to do is not possible because when it goes slow down the right, the ball's not going to fucking ping in for him to lead in.
What I'm asking is for Charlie to play with a bit more force and desire than what I'm watching at the moment, because I've seen him do it. And I think he's getting a little bit frustrated at whether it's the entry, the contest, losing the one-on-one, and it's showing in his body language. And I think he's better than that.
Oh, mate, I'm with you. I think I am 100% he can execute better than he's doing. But I think at the moment, I agree with his frustration. If I was him, I'd be pissed. I'm human. I don't think he likes that system. I think he wants to go back to round 0 to 4, where it was coming in quickly and everyone was raving that he was a Coleman medalist 3 times in a row. That helps him. Now it's not.
Well, then he's got to find a way. He's got to figure it out. Look, it's all part of. I mean, he's also going through this new era in his career. He's got the leadership role. Leadership roles add more to your week to week, your day to day. He's a guy that obviously likes to get his balance right with footy and non-footy. So I have no doubt it's weird because he's still leading the Colts. He's still having a really good year. That's how good he is. He's still having a pretty good year. Any other team in the competition would have him in a heartbeat. And he's still capable of more. That's the freaky part about any word you say about Charlie. Collingwood supporters who say a single word about him, I'm sure that I've had Collingwood supporter friends that say if we had Charlie Curnow, we'd win 4 in a row. So I'm not mincing it. I just think he's better than what he's playing at the moment. That's all. He'll get there. The big dog. 6.5. Still leading the Coleman. I know.
So,
can you believe it?
So based on that logic, every team in the league plays 2 key forwards minimum. So 18 times 2 is 36. So we could safely assume, if we use results is the only stat that matters, 35 forwards could be better. And are not doing enough.
I don't think there's 35 forwards like Charlie Curnow, though.
No doubt, but his output's still pretty good for someone who evidently is petulant at the moment.
That's the scary part.
So we're round 8. So what? Double that, 25. So that's he's on track for 70 goals by being petulant. Fuck me. Let's hope he doesn't engage.
He'll kick 150.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And look, like you say, rating, back to the rating, 6.5. Do you know what I mean? It's an okay game. This is 6.5. This is where we'd expect to see everyone. And I agree with Stephen B. Honestly, I've just done my 5 things we learned. This is something we cover. I just feel at the moment we are so one-dimensional. See what I said about Cripps? I defended him like I've defended Charlie. And I'm not Patrick Cripps' number 1 fan, right? Sometimes we've got to help these boys out. Help them out. Give them something different.
Do you think we're ready? Do you think because, I don't know what the plan is with Charlie and Harry, or if this is the way it's going to be for, forever. But do you think because Harry went through his struggles last year, confidence-wise, getting quality looks, it was just tough because he wasn't kicking the ball well. You think now that Harry seems to have found a bet, he's kicking the ball much better than last year. Do you think now we're ready to switch it up? Or do you think, I'm just getting a little trigger happy and wanting to change it up for the sake of it? Because Charlie kicking it inside to anyone, for the way I watch the game, is more valuable than Harry.
I think Charlie, for me, is a better entry inside 50. 100%. Like, I feel like that is probably what I'd like to see. But both of them have their tendencies to spray it. Charlie spraying it, kicking inside 50 is no hero. But
of course,
to answer your question, Terry, I'd ask you this.
Yeah.
If you're going to long bomb it in 1-on-3, who would you rather be under that? Charlie or Harry? Harry, yeah, 100%. And I love Charlie, 100% Harry. So if that's the tactic, Jordan Russell, that is obviously the game plan. That's the significant thing we've seen since Jordan Russell is there versus when we had Hansen do the forward, because he liked that hit-up lead. Why do the coaches disagree? It makes no sense, because to me, if I was building a system, I'm putting it in the strength. Harry full forward on top of 4 people. He's a genius. Get Charlie out of there trying to get some one-on-ones. So that's the big, like, I can't answer that. I'd love Ash Hansen, Voss to be like, oh, Pom, I can explain that. This is what we think. But I was saying this last year when we were all slagging Harry, put him near the fucking goals. Like, he's out of form and you're making him kick the mark, take a mark 50 away from his own goal line. What's he meant to do?
True.
Like, I don't like it. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm not defending him, because if he is petulant and if he is miffed, and I'm sure he is, that's not helping the team. But I understand it. He's a winner. He wants to kick goals. And I tell you what, if anyone in the chat can look me in the eye and say that if we were playing football, we put you full forward and just kicked and kicked and kicked and kicked, not to your lead, you'd fucking be pissed off. Like, I used to play striker in my granddad's side at under 16s. I'd slay every midfielder for not giving me the ball the way I wanted it.
Is it maybe time to see Charlie getting into him then?
Yeah, but you sometimes see it. Like, he did it this week. Someone on Twitter posted it, where he's gone like that and he's turned his back on one of the players. And I'm like, maybe he hasn't just learned how to word it. But, like, if I was Charlie...
Get in the change room and call him a fucking prick.
Like, if I was Charlie, he needs to, like, punch a locker.
Yeah.
But, I mean, then again, like I say, I will back him. The twat's leading the Coleman.
Yeah.
So he's leading the Coleman, and Harry's 4th with the worst entries inside 50 in the history of football.
Well, we'll get Jack Martin back soon. Hopefully that helps. Let's move on.
I love you, Charlie. Hey, look, I've just defended you against fucking... Like, honestly, would it hurt? Slide in the DMs, Charlie. Would it hurt you?
Let's talk about Pito.
This is the one that breaks me the most with Pitternet, because he is doing all he can. So see the rant I've had about Charlie, see the rant I've had about Cripps. He's working his ass off. And this is the best Pitternet we've ever seen. Like,
ever.
Make no mistake. Like, look, the fucking red dot's getting bigger, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually covering the centre circle. What I like, and I've got to give Voss shout out and Hansen and co for this, they finally learned one of them needs to slide back, one of them needs to slide forward. No longer are you seeing this Pitternet just stay there, and he's coming back. It's an interesting one, though, because I don't like the fact we've become a stoppage side again. And I said this at the start of the year when everyone was crying about not being good at stoppage and clearance. I like the old way, because I think it hides every one of our problems. If we play quick through the corridor, we're not a good kick inside. Stop saying we need to be faster, because we haven't got fast players. You keep saying that and then saying you want to be faster. So if you want to do something, okay, we'll start a rebuild and get fast players. What is good about that is when it's short and it's sharp, it makes you look quicker. When it's short and it's sharp, you overrun GWS. And GWS are one of the fastest midfields in the side. Now you're starting to see it's a bit more slow, a bit more laboured, and it's starting to be exposed. And this is where Pitternet does get exposed. Them clearances, 6 of them, 5 of them were just punts there, and you're relying on the forward pressure, and the forward pressure isn't quite there at the moment. It isn't quite there. Harry's leading the way. There's the problem. So it was a really good game for him, but I'm lost at what the plan is. Like, I really am, because he's doing his job, but it's not winning us this game. And it should have won this game because he peppered their ruckman.
It is an unknown. The reality is where we've won one game with him in the side. And I'm not blaming him for losses, but that's where it's at.
Yeah,
and this,
it's not his fault. Like this is honestly,
this is his career best form
we've ever seen him.
Yeah, he's getting better every time he's played.
It'd be interesting. It would be really interesting. Like, I'd love to see. I want to see, I want to see in 6 weeks' time when everyone's back what it looks like, because at the moment I'm trying to piece the puzzle together, and I can't get everyone in.
Yeah,
with Pitternet and TDK in, someone's getting dropped. Do you know what I mean? And it's a good player that's getting dropped. So I need to see it from now till then. I really need to see how it works, because at the moment it's not working. Because have you noticed our midfield as well? They don't understand how to lead to both of these players as well. Like, TDK has gone back to that wonderful flicking it on forward, but then they're still used to Pitternet's dropping it down. It's like it gets confusing for the midfield. It's like, I'm not saying the midfield is slow to learn, but it's like they forget Pitternet's a different kettle of fish. So I'm sure the midfield, if they were here, they'd unanimously say we want to play with Pitternet. But the midfield looks better when TDK's there. Like, me personally, I think you'd have to sacrifice one of the ruckmen to make it work.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do.
Good game, though, from Pitt.
It was 6.5. Sammy Walsh. Interesting heat map. It's not what I was expecting to see. It was a game of accumulation, I felt, for Sam Walsh. So George Hewitt, who we'll get to in a moment, spoke about, I saw his comments about the game and how we kept going backwards in order to go forwards. And Walsh was generally on the end of a lot of those backward handballs, which invited the pressure. Just didn't seem to have the same damage about his possessions in this game.
Interesting one, because we said that there was two people that had to play the sacrificial lamb wing role. And Walshy was interestingly deployed there at times. Led the team in clearances, though. Again, see Pitternet, though. These clearances, one of the worst stats you'll see, clearances, because they don't quite paint the picture. Score launches, though, really impressive. From stoppages, he got us going, and that's the key area there. Tackles were pretty good. It's this efficiency. Now, my issue with Sam Walsh, and it's not an issue really, but my issue, again, this is back to structure. Carlton did the same midfield structure every time. So if you have a trio of midfielders, dependent on what them trio of midfielders, you know what's going to happen. So if I know what's going to happen, I'm not an AFL coach. What do you think McRae does? He fucking definitely knows. So every time them three, you know what's going to happen. You know what the ball looks. And it's amazing. When he's out in space, he's a different kettle of fish. When he's got a rush, it's a little bit like watching Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy was like that. If Mark Murphy could get through the crowd, game over.
Yeah.
If you could give Mark Murphy always one more person to beat, you knew he was going to cough it up. And that's what Collingwood did. It was a real simple system with Walsh. They knew that it goes out the back to Hewitt, and they killed Hewitt because they basically took the short option away, which was Walsh. And they were like, what are you going to do? You're going to kick it, mate, or you're going to go for it? And what did Hewitt do? He took him on twice, and he thought he was Usain Bolt. And it was quite funny to watch, but it was depressing to watch at the time. Walsh, what they did is they took the short option, or they gave him an extra person. So you see Pendlebury do it twice. He peels off. Once the ball's come out, he's like, fuck Cripps, he's not needed. It's going to you. And he just took that handball away. And when he did, he got in the way of Walsh. Walsh had to kick it, and then it becomes a turnover. And it's not his fault. That's football. That's what we do.
No, they scouted him really well. They prepared really well for it. the Pies.
Can I give you a left field suggestion and call me stupid? But what are we missing in the back line at the moment? Well,
Sad.
who? Yeah. Do you find it interesting that we've tried Kennedy in that position? And I couldn't think of anyone more the opposite of Sad. I mean, even his religion is the polar opposite of the religion spectrum. Like, they've literally gone opposites. Where surely Chera or Walsh, when you look at how Dacos is transitioned into a midfielder, wouldn't it be great to see these at half-back flank just for a bit? For a bit to get them in the game and give them that control.
Especially now, while we're waiting for Sard and McGovern and when Kemp's not playing.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, and this was the game where I was thinking Chera, I hardly saw him at times.
Yeah.
Slot in there because it's not working. Like, and that's what I've got to give Collingwood credit for. Pendlebury goes there. Dacos goes there. They try and help them get into the game. And I felt for Walsh this game because I don't think he was helped. It was so obvious at times what was going to happen. And unfortunately, someone said it in the chat brilliantly. That's probably the best synopsis of the game. They made us play their game.
Yeah.
Good game, though. I mean, we're talking like he's killed Christ. I mean, seven's good, but when we see the full team, you'll understand why 7 isn't good.
No doubt. So 7 for Sam Walsh as we move over to George Hewitt. 17 contested possessions, 3 centre clearances, 5 tackles, 14 pressure acts. Again, I mean, all the midfield, like I said earlier, this was the most impressive part about Collingwood, their desire and the way that they knew at all times for 4 quarters, or maybe 3 quarters, how to take away our midfield strength. Our full midfield.
Yeah, if you want to know where the game was lost, look at the left number, look at the right. So we don't see this from Georgie Porgy, but he was always under the shit when he got the ball and he couldn't give the shit back. So 14 pressure acts. And they're different ranges. They're basic. Literally, the first part of call is just being in the way to spoil or effect a disposal. He couldn't get close to them, and they exposed him. And pretty much like what we see with Brodie Kemp, where they try and isolate him. That move by Fly midway through the second to put Pendlebury on Cripps full time from the first, but then really execute that in the second. Bring Maynard to try and affect Hewitt's short option and then play Dacos in the defensive side of stoppage and just basically make a beeline for this guy is why they're so low, because the protection was taken away from him, which is his pace, but also he couldn't get close to Dacos. Like, honestly, I heard he got a shirt signed at the end of the game from Nick Dacos' dad, and that was the first time he was close to a Dacos all game. To be fair, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. But this, again, back to my point, you've got to help these players out. These players are what they are. Like, Michael Voss isn't shot. George Hewitt isn't quick.
Yeah.
He would have probably known when he first got out of his car. He's good at positioning himself. So you've got to help him out. And I thought George did what he had to do. But ultimately, without them short options, he's just a ball winner. And it's a shame. I love Georgie, though. Georgie's our boy.
It's a 7 for George. I'll get you to upload 38 as we talk about Lockie Cowan.
Moo. I've got 38 up. Can't you see it?
No, it's not here. Not where I look at it.
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
Yeah. Let's talk about Lockie Cowan.
Interesting this week. This week he got the McGovern role, which was nice to see. No Kemp being there. Someone had to be the third tall. And he came in. Impressive thing about Cowan is he can work on the ground and in the air now, and that's something that he's really worked hard, added to his game. I'd love to see this booming kick, man. I'd love to see us exploit that again and really utilize that.
Is that a confidence thing or is that a coaching setup thing?
The amount of times we hit the right wing, like honestly, either it's coincidence and all of them have the same panic mode, or that has been preordained. And I think it's preordained. And
Yeah.
there was sometimes, like, if you actually watch Carlton when we turn the ball over, it's quite funny. Harry stays on the centre circle, and he's probably got the boot to boot it that far. And I keep thinking this is an easy one out. Like, just, and he did do one where we had that great foot chase where it was Howdy versus Free. And I'm like, do that all the time. Do it all the time. But yeah, he's looking the part, isn't he? And I hope the right call comes when McGovern and Sard come in. I hope this guy stays, because I think I really like how he's developed in the VFL. You know, I'm a big fan though. I'm a sucker for Tassie boys.
In an ideal world, well, let me go back one step. Do you think he played instead of Cowan, instead of Brody Kemp?
Well, it's in. Well, yeah, because I mean, Voss.
Do you think he was chosen? Do you think he was chosen over Kemp to play in that intercept role?
Yeah, I feel. Well, I don't know if it was chosen, but he was by design. He was now Brody Kemp, where I'd expect to see Brody Kemp play, and we're all generals after the battle, aren't we? I mean, it would have been interesting to see. As it ended up, Wheatering had to take the big guys when they came because Young was losing the job, losing the battle. So it would have been interesting if Voss had his time again. Was it Kemp? Kemp goes on Majacek. Wheatering waits for these two idiots to come forward, and then this guy has that higher up role as the intercept. Was that the plan? Was that a better plan? Maybe, but we'll never know, will we? But he did very well, Mr. Cowan. I'm very impressed with how he's grown.
Yeah, I like the development that I've seen in him. It was a bit of an unknown in the preseason. Didn't know where he was at. Didn't hear much about him, but from what I've seen so far, he's coming along nicely. What was his score? 6. How good. There you go. Next is Chera.
Chesney.
Saw a bit of something with Chera that I haven't seen before, and it's obvious because he hasn't played in a couple of weeks. He just wasn't a one-touch player for a lot of the game. And I get it. It was a big game. It was his first game back. He just wasn't clean, is what I'm used to him being.
That was like a little bit of we talked about Charlie's body language. His body language was interesting the second half as well. He started to really double guess, and you could see he was looking for the exciting option. It wasn't there, and that was an interesting one for me. He spent a lot of time in the back half of the ground in the second half, as well as Carlton tried to get him to find the ball.
Yep.
What impresses me about Chera, though, is this development of being a bit more of a thug.
Yeah.
Was really hard working, was willing to chase. And I watched the game. I've watched it 3 times. I've got something wrong with me. I like watching the losses because I feel like I learn more when I'm angry than when I'm happy. And I think you miss things when you're like rainbows and poppycock. When you're angry, you're looking for a reason to be happy. When you win, you don't care. And it screamed to me when Dacos got off the chain, switch Hewitt. Get rid of Hewitt, put Hewitt somewhere else, and give Chera that role. Because he was chasing everyone. He chased down Crisp, and Crisp is quick. Just get him invested. It feels like at times we have too many stars to invest them all. And it comes and it kind of backs off. I think you've nailed it, Terry. He didn't look like he was engaged. Looked like he was on delay.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I get it. I do get it. Logically, he's just missed football. Come back in such a big game, just not as sharp. So
it reminded me when we used to use Bereal.
Yeah.
Like there was a slight delay from decision making to execution.
Yeah. So a 6 for Chera. I don't see 41. If you see 41, click it. It doesn't show up here.
What the fuck is happening with this?
I don't know. I don't see it. So if it's on your side,
Jordan Russell taking over the fucking uploads.
it's all falling apart, mate. Okay, Corey Durden. I've got them all from here on out. We're good. Corey Durden signed the 2-year contract extension throughout the week. That heat map looks a bit like Orazio's from the last few weeks, no?
Very similar, Terry. Yeah. So they're really trying that role of getting someone up higher. There seems to be the new thing. You all want the players to be more central and higher up, but the club make them go wider and higher.
Clearing out the space.
we need to start petitioning for the other thing, so they get so they do the right thing. This was a weird one. This one, because he led the team in marks on lead. So, like you know what? When I double checked that stat, all I could hear was Terry. We kicked the ball to fucking Gibbons how many times?
Well, the irony was that I think Harry went to Durden as well in that final in the fourth quarter instead of Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one because this is the role he played is the role I'd like Charlie to play. I'd love this. Like, if they could do that, and they could do with the 3 forwards now with TDK, you could probably do that. But this isn't Durd's game. Like, I don't want to see Durd's up here. Like, I want to see Durd's inside 50, getting ready. But there's something, I can see it because he's a doer, isn't he? He's a goer.
Yes.
But I just don't think this is his role. It's like we're almost adapting his role when he hasn't mastered his original one.
Yeah. He presented well, obviously. When I think of Durden, I think of 5 tackles. It's the first thing I think of. Tackle first, and then we've been focusing on him getting a bit more of the ball. Is this just a waiting period, a holding pattern until the rest of them are back? Like Martin's back in the side, Motlop. I mean, is he even playing? If they're all available, Fogarty.
I
think
it's the first time we've seen him with no tackles, Terry.
True.
Since Richmond.
True.
Since Richmond. And he's come off the back of that 8 tackle game in Fremantle, if you remember, and they've slowly got worse. This is what I'm saying to you about the movement at the moment of the side is really concerning me. Because from round 1, when we were all pissed with him, he went on a spurt, 8 tackles, 4 tackles, and Carlton's transition game was getting sexual, and we were all excited, and it looked good. And now it's almost like he's back in purgatory, and I don't like it because Motlop, if he's playing this role, well, he's gonna fucking hate it. He's gonna hate it. I can tell you now. You know what I mean? Anyone you name in that team, he's gonna be like, I hate fucking playing this role. So it's a real and I'm trying to work out, is it because Jack Martin's not fit? And is it because once Jack Martin comes in, if Jack Martin's leading up here, that means Harry's probably a bit deeper. That's good. I like that. But then I'd say Corey Durden is 8 foot shorter than Martin.
Do you know who we're missing?
Jesus.
Jack Silvani. That's what we're missing.
Yeah. Well, spot on. I mean, like Stephen B nails it. If you want to get the message to the club, that'd be great. Why the fuck is he more than 30 meters away from that? When I saw his heat map, I was just like, why? What? Why?
It's like he was chipping in for Ollie Hollands' absence. They all had a go at it on the wing.
He runs a lot of Ks, to be fair. I mean, to be honest, though, there's another reason why this is so high as well is our small forward line, I was checking, is 11 meters shallower than any of the other top 8 sides because of how our entries work.
Yeah.
That's not as deep as it probably is in real life because our entries are probably only 5 meters in front of that. So there's that as well. But yeah, it's a weird one because you know what, I like Durden. I know a lot of people are split on him, and it's not because I'm Terry's mate. I do like the directness of him. I just think we're really underutilized. It's play to your strengths. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think we're playing to his strengths at the moment. It'll come. That was a 5. It was a 5 for Durds. He'll be right. Cunners has this amazing ability every time he plays after missing for patches. He does something and he just reminds me like, oh, yeah, that's why. And it was one of our first goal after quarter time, maybe our only goal after quarter time in the second quarter. He takes 3 extra steps, maybe 4 extra steps, bit of poise before kicking it to Charlie to set up Charlie's goal. And I sat there thinking, oh, I missed you. Like, that's the poise that we really need. But it's flashy, and that's Cunners. It's the beauty and the curse of him. To be fair,
of all the problems, there was some negative. There was some positive problems. Yes. I watched this game and I was like, Jesus! Like, when everyone's fit, is it Elijah and Cunners, or is it Cottrell and Cunners, or is it Cottrell and Elijah?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can play all 3 of them in the same role. I think Cunners was afforded for the first time in a long time the whole game at half forward, and I think he flourished.
Yeah,
which was nice to see, because last year we were doing that stupid shit where we were playing him in the midfield and on the wing and not giving him the full game. He came in and he played the whole game there. And I agree with you, Terry. He has got that spark and that intelligence to do the right thing. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Great, in mega that it was his first game for 6 weeks, and he somehow looked fitter than he did 6 weeks. I don't understand him. Don't understand him. Like, he had a full preseason, and I remember doing the video with you, going, thought he had a full fucking preseason. He has an injury, and he comes back and he looks fitter.
He did look fit. Yeah, he's clean. He's a clean player. That's his strength. Yeah,
and we don't have many of them.
No, not in the half forward line. So we get to 6. As we move on to Matt Kennedy, one of the biggest mysteries of the night, if not the biggest. We sat here on the rating show the last 3 weeks saying, I think we found Kennedy's role. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know.
This is the one that blags my head. Blags my head. Because 7 pressure acts in 20 minutes of football as well. He came out, did his job. And
he's
he plays
exactly what we needed for Collingwood. I felt anyway.
Well, I wish Voss had explained it. And the people who ask questions, the journalists in this country, just aren't smart enough to ask the questions you want to know. But it was obvious the plan was stoppage and clearance. We're going to beat them up round there. Yep. The numbers were saying that. The numbers were saying Carlton's forward half intercepts versus their defensive half intercepts equaled each other out. The one leader was our stoppage and clearance game was in another ballpark. And then no one asked him, why would you play the extra defender versus an actual specialist inside mid? Do you know what I mean? That would have been the first question I'd ask. Just explain that to me. It's obvious today your game plan was to beat them up around the stoppage, but you've got a guy that's been doing that for you for the last 5 weeks. You put him on the bench. Why?
Why?
Play the extra. Play the extra. And one thing about Kennedy is he isn't quick, but he stays so close to... when people talk about speed, the worst thing is slow and stupid. I can cope with this guy. Not very quick, but smart. He knows where to be. And when he came on, he really showed that straight away that, the players were quicker than him, but he can get to where you need to be. And that's a problem for you. And I love Bam Bam. And I was gutted he didn't get the game, because I really do, with all of my heart, think you started him, it would have been totally different. And he gets an average, but super impressive.
It was a coulda, woulda, shoulda. It was what it was. So we do. So now we're going to look at the team. Okay. Let's talk about the team. This is everyone.
Let's talk about teams, baby.
Let's talk about you and me.
So it should be plainly obvious to all of you. So 2 things stand out in that fluky win we had a couple of weeks ago. there was a few blues in the key areas, our core areas. So a few were expected to do the work of many. And this week you can see the 6.5's borderline green. Like, people just did enough.
Yeah.
And when you just do enough, what did I always say to you? If you had a team of 6.5s, you'd be 8th. At best, you'd be 9th. You saw the results.
Wow. And Johnny Holden, interesting observation. The 4 Reds are the same 4 from last week.
The road is long. But it's okay. It's okay. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I'm telling you now, like, just for those who have enjoyed 2 hours on your weekend.
I had the sound ready. Damn it. I had the sound ready. It was this.
Yeah, go back and watch. Like, go back and watch. Definitely go and watch the Fremantle game and go and watch the Richmond game, like the slingshot. And then watch the GWS game, where I think that's probably the closest we've been to being really balanced. And you can see that it's really become slow and laconic. And I think it's affecting players. Like, we've picked on Charlie tonight. We've picked on Walsh tonight. We've picked on Cripps a bit tonight, TDK. And it's not criticisms of them. The structure before, although leaked a little bit because it was so offensive, it hid all the problems that we're having a suck about.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately tactics. Because I feel like we get lost in this country of Richmond do this, Collingwood do this. We've got different players. So you've got to suit your structure to what these players do. And ultimately, if Harry at 8.5 is our best with Nick Newman,
we've lost. Yeah, we've lost the game. Yeah. I see a slide here. Do you want to run through this? This is like the team heat map.
Yeah. So, sorry, your name has gone out of my head. You were in my DMs this week and you requested this. So, real apologies of who did it, but I took your request, as I always do, and made it happen because I'm a nice guy. So what this is the team. So we've created an algorithm for teams. So what we've tried to do is, because it's in vogue at the moment and the AFL gets its willy hard for silly things like differential, I thought, let's use differential because differential is exciting and new. So what we've done here, Stephen Granger, shout out to you, my son. You were the one. So you can see here, Carlton stoppage score. This is really interesting. Going into the game, this was a key winning ground for Carlton. You can see -22 today. Not good. Turnover scores, though. We won that one, if you want to be David T. All right, lads.
One was off Nick Dacos too. I remember it early in the game.
It's all right, lads. But here we are, look, defensive half scores. So this is the slingshot that we all talk about. And you can see here, Carlton lost this, but this is the big one that I want you to talk about. And to back up, we keep talking about slow, boring, stagnant play. Carlton averaged 6.5, just under 6.5, more touches just to get a scoring shot in a game that was slowed right down. And this number here is rising by the week. And it's a dangerous one because the top sides get the ball from A to B quicker. And some of them use foot speed, some of them use bow speed. Most of them use just bow speed. We get to that halfway point so quickly, and you know what's coming. You know it's a long pond, don't you? Like, come on, let's be honest. When it gets to that middle right, you know it's going long. You know it is.
That's a really interesting.
But there it is. There's the new pomegranate.
Okay. We have the Horizon Finance Group player of the game. That'd be Nick Newman.
Won it by 2 decimals. He did as well, just from Harry pipped him.
Oh. No, a deserved winner, the player of the game. He was reliable. And then I see So this is the season leader by average.
This is the Horizon Finance Group medalist pole position at the moment, leading the way. Mr. Sam Walsh with a staggering average across his games played this year of 8.75. That is an absolute Peter Ian staker, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Wow. There you go.
With a 7 this week, like
Lucinda's asked the question. Fair enough.
Hey, that's insane though. 8.75, like Jesus.
That's he's been back for 3 games now. Walsh, 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's almost getting bored. He was getting bored of having blues, so he thought he'd have a green this week.
Yeah. So that's that. Again, get in touch with Nick Horsburgh from Horizon Finance Group. If you have any finance applications you'd like to make, you need someone to go out there and actually do the dirty work and find you the best rate. Nick is your man. Link is in the description. Link is pinned to the live chat right now. Get in touch. Pommy, that was good. I feel a lot better. I think I was a bit down in the dumps at the start of this show. I get too emotionally invested in the Collingwood game. I've realised I don't think the players care about the rivalry as much as the fans, which is okay. It's just another game. But
you cheered up once we had a debate on Charlie. That brought you out. The lawyer.
I needed to get it off my chest. I was feeling the feels. You know?
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, Terry, this is why we do this, because we help each other. Like,
yeah,
I've just got good at analysing the game and just keep watching it and watching it. And that gets me out of being sad. The more I watch it, the less sad I get.
There is another reminder of what's happening. I can't help but sense we're about to be tested again. If you zoom out, like really, really zoom out for a second, just feels like we're about to be tested again as a fan base, as a football club, around whether it's, losing a couple in a row or going through a patch of games where it's not happening when it comes to the results. Are we going to lose our shit again, or are we going to be able to, stick it out and just wait until we get the full picture at the end of the season? I do sense something like that is forming. We're 8 games in now, and that's what I'm starting to see. I think the test of the fan base, this year's version of the test of the fan base and the club, is coming really soon.
I saw a post today where someone said we've got 1.68 percentage better and 2 points better than last year. And I was like, hey! Honestly, it's fixable. It's fixable. It's fixable, and we're going to get through it. Like, you know what? Even if we lose the next 7 games, we will get through it together. We are going to be here, hugging each other, holding hands. Me and Terry had a debate today as well. We've just taught you how to have a debate and not call each other a cunt. Hey, amazing. Me and Terry have stayed friends while disagreeing about football. It's crazy concept. Crazy concept. Matt, there will be loads of content because me and Terry have got a gift from the Carlton Football Club. We have loads of content for the mid-season draft because we've got about 12 picks.
Yeah.
Because the team's fucking all dead. So it's going to be quality.
Look, I think this got forgot. I definitely forgot about this at some point. We just lost to the Premiers by a kick. Like, this is where we're at. Like, we're pissed off because we're losing the top 4 sides by a kick.
Well, I mean, I did warn everyone in my fan cams. It's probably because it's a derby. So the Collingwood game amplifies my ability to be like, it's all right, boys. Try harder next week. I don't have that in me. But, mate, it's disappointing because this is where we are now. Like, this is exciting because we're meant to fucking beat these dickheads. Like, the last 2 games, you beat them dickheads if you want to be a flag winning side. And we're now expecting to win it. We're not hoping. So this week, though, I can't wait because this side match up at everything we're good at. Everything we're good at, Melbourne have mastered.
Yes.
So they need us. Ultimately, they definitely need us.
Yeah. They're coming off a 5-day break. I don't want to hear about our 6-day break because they're coming off a 5-day break.
I think that helps, though, don't you? I think the less time they have to think, the better.
Get straight into it. I agree. I totally agree. And then the next time we play Collingwood, I don't want to be talking about a game where we get outworked by Collingwood.
Yeah.
Don't get outworked by Collingwood. Don't finish the game and we say they wanted it more. They worked harder than us. That's why I got so angry the more the weekend played out. I'm like,
the more I think about like Charlie Kerner, like I did say to my father-in-law, if Charlie Kerner had Brody Majocek's lack of self-respect to run around like a blue-ass fly, he'd kick 900.
Yeah.
Like, because you watch Majocek, I don't think he's great, and I've got all the respect for Majocek because I loved him when he was playing state-level football. One thing about him, he's Nick Newman in the forward line. He gives everything. Like, he's not Charlie Kerner, but he will give 250% every time he walks out because he maximizes his talent. So, no, I'm with you, bro. Like, that's the one that kills you, innit? Because it did feel like they were just better at being effective and grinding. They had
more desire. They had more passion. 88 tackles. We had 53. Like little things like that. Just
the tackles inside 50 made me vomit as well this week. I was like, whenever I see, you know what? I've got this theory as well. I know it's bad when I look at the GPS data and I see Harry Mackay in the top 3. And then I click tackles inside 50 and Harry's name doesn't go off the screen.
I'm
like, no.
It is what it is.
Can you imagine having to collect a paycheck and some guy who's 2 meters tall, weighing 100 kgs, has ran twice your distance? Surely there's this element of shame, isn't there?
Surely. You would think so.
Disgusting. But nah, Melbourne.
Guys, that was us. Pommy, that was brilliant what you set up tonight. Thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to one of you sliding my DMs and adding another 20 minutes work to this show. So
yeah,
keep doing it.
We will guys, have a good night. That's Sunday night. See you tomorrow evening for the BA show. And not our week, but we'll be back. See you, Pommy.